Hello, it's Crafty Carol here again, and I showed you how to make this wonderful accordion card last week, or last time, and this week I want to show you how to make a box for it. And this is how to make a box for any size of card or whatever you want. I think I need yeah, I definitely need to retie that bow, it's disgusting, but we won't worry about that for now. So first thing to do, get your ruler and measure, and you want to measure the width, so and you want to make it a little bit, measure it bigger than the card. So my card, I actually know it's 10.5, or no, it's about 10 actually, so I'm going to call it 11 as a width, so that's being a little bit generous on the width. And we do the same for here, so I'm going to stick it out a little bit, and if we stick it out a couple of millimeters each side, we get 15. So 15 by 11 is my basic area. And then I also need depth for the box, so if it's tied up properly, which, as I say, I need to redo this bow, it's going to be around 2, so I'm going to allow 2.5 on the depth. 2 would probably do, but I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So then you've got to work out how big a piece of card you need to make the box. So this is how we do it. Let's hope that is all just about in view. I think it is. So the measurements, we've measured 11 across, 15 down, and we've measured a depth at around 2.5. So your box card pieces need to be, how you work it out is, if you want a single-sided box, so that's just one sort of sticking up bit of 2.5, then you go width plus twice the depth, because you want depth each side to form the sides of a box, and that would be 16 centimeters. If you want it double-sided, which I often do for boxes, certainly the bottom of boxes, then you want to add 4 times the depth, so that's 11 plus 10, 21 centimeters in this case. And you do the same for the height, so height times twice the depth is 15, plus 5 is 20, height 4 times the depth is 25 centimeters. So your box card piece, your base and your top, need to be either 16 by 20 single-sided or 21 by 25 double-sided. So you can either do this on your scoreboard using the metric base. Obviously, if you made the measurements in inches, you can use the normal scoreboard. I'm actually going to use my trimmer, making sure I have moved the cutting blade well out of the way. And the beauty of the trimmer is that you've got these measurements to the right hand side of the cutting line, so that means that I can measure this way without it going a bit wonky, because you want it to be really square, which means pushing your card right up against the stop at the top. So I am now going to score 2.5 centimeters each side, so I do that on all 4 sides. And because this is going to be double-sided, then I'm going to be doing it at 5. So obviously I need to go this way for that. So 5 and score each way again. So that's given me my box base. So and now I want to make, these are going to be the sides of the box, and these are going to be the tabs that are going to stick the box together. So for each of the corners, and I'm going to do this all the same way, I'm going to cut in down 1 tab to there, and then I'm going to cut the other side again down to the score line, which is, I'll try and get it exact there, and then I can cut that off, and I can cut the excess off here. Okay, so oops, just trying to cut in front of myself is not easy actually. And then I'm very slightly going to miter each corner, so I'm going to just take a little sliver off each side, just because it makes the box fit better. So I'm going to do that on all, just get that even, there we go. So I'm going to do this on all 4 corners, so you don't need to. So there is my base complete. I've cut and trimmed each of the corners. And as you can see, I've just mitered these tabs just a little bit, because you want to do that. Okay, so that's all of my folding and creasing done. So now I'm going to form the box. Now, the benefit of the double side is that you can actually hide the tab. So I can fold, I'm going to stick that tab in there like that. And then I can fold all of these down so that my tab is then covered. And it just makes a neater box inside. And it's for that reason, plus the strength reason, that I like to have double sides to boxes. But again, it's your choice and it depends on whether you've got the right size card. That's the bottom line. So I'm going to go ahead and make these up, and I do that by just putting some glue around the tab. And then the key to it is make sure that that is absolutely square. And you want to be careful with your cutting as well. When you are cutting, make sure you're cutting right down that crease line, slightly on the inner box side of the crease line, so that it's an exact cut. And then you can make sure your corners are exactly square and stick those down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of the other tabs. So that's my box tab stuck down. Now I'm going to stick these sides down. Again, if you want to, you can miter the corners. It just makes it sit a little better. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm now going to fold these down and stick them in. So again, I'm going to put glue on each of them and then just fold them down. There we go. And then the big test is, does the card fit in? And there we go, it fits in beautifully. So to make the lid for the box, you've got a couple of options. You can either do exactly the same size as for your base. So that would give you a 2.5 centimetre depth on your lid as well. So your lid would fit right down to the bottom of the box. But I actually like to make my lid just not quite as deep as the box. So to do that, I change the measurements a bit. So this time we've got our base area, we know our depth of the box. So if I wanted a 1.5 centimetre deep box, then I need to add either twice or 4 times to the width. So 1.5 centimetres is 6 centimetres. So that would be 11 plus 6, 17 centimetres for a double-sided lid, 14 for a single-sided lid, because you just add on twice the depth. Same with the height, so 18 or 21. So a single-sided lid, 14 by 18, a double-sided lid, 17 by 21, which is what I'm going to do because I do like that extra depth. So the key with this is in how you score it so that it fits snugly but not too tight. If you scored it at exactly the same, so 1.5 and 3, each side, it's going to be quite tight if I want to make it just a tad less when I'm scoring it. So, oops, a bit of gunge on my scoring board. So instead of doing 1.5 exactly, I'm just going to come literally, I don't know if you can see just how much less, but just 0.5 millimetre. That's all I'm doing. But I'm going to come that 0.5 millimetre in, possibly even 1 millimetre, but no more than that because we don't want the lid to be loose, but we do want it to fit nicely. So moving my cutter out of the way, I'm just going to score that. So 1.5 centimetres, just less. 1.5 centimetres, just less. And the same here, 1.5 centimetres, just less. And the same for the final side. So if you're doing single-sided, that's all you would need to do, single-tabbed. I'm going to do double, which means that I'm going to go to 3 centimetres, just less. So again, I'm coming just to the right-hand side, not quite a millimetre there either side. If you're using the scoreboard, then again, just bring it in very, very slightly from the edge, just a fraction, and you'll see that that will make you a lid that fits snugly but without being too loose. So again, we do that on all the sides. Okay, now we can check that by holding the box against the inner margins, and we should see, I know I don't know if we can get this to the camera enough, but if I place the box right within the markings, I can see the folds on each side without there being a big gap, and that's really important because we don't want a big gap, but we do want to be able to see the folds. So that's quite a nice check for you to check if it's right. Well, we're going to cut it just as we did before, so we're going to cut off these corners, but we want the tabs to go in the opposite direction. So here I've put the tabs on the narrow side, so for the lid I want to put the tabs on the long side, which means that I'm going to cut in here, again being very careful to cut right down the inner side of the crease line, and then the same on the other side. I can make that actually put my wedge in there, but when I'm cutting here, make sure that I'm cutting right to the inner side of the crease line, because we need that to be exactly straight. So all I'm going to do is just again wedge that very slightly. I like to wedge my tabs, they do sit in much better. So I'm going to do that on each corner, and then I'll come back and show you the next stage. Okay, so there is my double-sided box lid all carefully cut and folded. So I have somewhere already prepared there the top for my box. So I'm going to stick that on now because it's an awful lot easier to stick it on now than it is to leave it. Oh, it's come off that layer. It's an awful lot easier to stick it on now. Oops, got glue everywhere again. Before I actually make up the box lid than it is to stick it on afterwards, because I don't want to risk squishing the box lid. I am going to put a little bit more decoration on it, but this is getting the main piece on, so we'll just put that on. Again, I've cut it just a little bit less than the actual size of the lid, so that it's got a little bit of an edge around it. There we go. So having stuck that on, I can now do my creasing and then stick it together just as before. So again, I will speed up the video because you don't need to see me do all of this stuff. If you want to cut a thumb notch, if you were doing it the full depth of the box, you wanted a little thumb notch to make it easier, do punch that before you get to this stage. I'll show you one of those at some point. I'll show you how to do the punching first. But that's really important because you can't, it's almost impossible to do it once you've actually formed the box. Okay, I think that's stuck down well enough everywhere. Yeah. So then the moment of truth, and oh, got a bit stuck on the top there. So that is a really firm fitting lid. Yeah, so it doesn't come off, it's not squashing the box in any way, it just fits beautifully. And I seem to have stuck one of my bits to the lid. Just get rid of those. There we go. I am going to put a bit more decoration on the front, but there is my birthday box and my lid that just fits so beautifully and has my great card in it. So I hope you enjoy that and have a go at making your boxes, and let me see what you've made. Bye for now.